Hey gang, there has been a lot of talk about turtles lately, and while the internet has long been a fan of our shelled friends, other amphibians are starting to feel a bit left out. In the interest of inclusivity, we thought it was about time that we showed the proper respect to the real green menace. It's time to get wrecked by a frog. Welcome to Head Games.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. My name is the Zombie Apocalypse, and here in the saloon where we have a mechanical toad I can ride, they just call me Steve.
Hey there, gang. I'm Jet. Now, I'm no herpetologist, but I do know the difference between a poisonous frog and a venomous one. In my reptile chat room, they just call me Tim.
Is there actually a venomous frog? That would be interesting.
I think that I actually, again, I'm no herpetologist, so I have no idea, but I think that there is. I think that there are examples of both.
I'm going to Google that after this.
We're gonna talk about one that I would consider to be pretty venomous today.
Oh, yeah, he is. Thank you for joining us today on the Head Games Commander podcast, where we spotlight some of our favorite commanders from all of Magic the Gathering. Before we get started, did you know every time this video gets a like, a toad becomes monstrous? And every time we get a new subscriber on YouTube, he becomes friendly enough to ride. So if you want a giant toad that you can ride, you know what to do. So Tim, who are we shining our spotlight if you couldn't figure it out already?
We've probably given it away. At least if we haven't, we have been, we're not very subtle. So, but since there's multiple different versions of this card, our dedicated listeners are probably uncertain. But those people who have played against us at a commander table may have seen this deck before. Today, we are spotlighting the Gitrog Ravenous Ride. In this episode, we'll describe the deck strategy, we'll share what we love about the old frog, and highlight some of our favorite cards in this deck after some very recent and fun upgrades.
Oh, yeah. So today's deck was built by our good friend, Tim. He is from Outlaws Thunder's Junction's main set. Ouch. I hope you guys didn't hear that crack. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about the bracket talk that you have with this Ravenous Ride you got?
So the Gitrog Ravenous Ride is 5 mana, 3 a black and a green. It's a 6/5 with trample and haste. Whenever the Gitrog Ravenous Ride deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice a creature that saddled it this turn. If you do, draw X cards, then put up to X lands from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, where X is the sacrificed creature's power. A lot of words, I know. And saddle means that you can tap a creature with a power requisite, and in this case, it's 1. So as long as the creature has power more greater than 0, it can saddle. They can get on the back of the Gitrog, and then when the Gitrog does combat damage, you can sacrifice something that jumped on its back. You have to saddle as a sorcery. It's worth noting. So you have to kind of telegraph that you're doing it. But the idea is we're going to put a giant creature on the back of the Gitrog, sacrifice it when it hits, draw a bunch of cards, cheat a bunch of lands into play. That's the whole game plan of the deck. So this qualifies on paper, as it were, as a 3. There are no game changers in the list. And I know I say this a lot, but I'm going to say that this is a 3 that punches up.
Oh, yeah.
I would say that in a strong 4 table, this is going to actually, the lack of power in this deck, I think, is actually going to show.
That makes sense.
At a table full of other 3s, this is going to dominate. So it is a very resilient and strong deck. So again, it is a 3 by the bracket system, but I would put its power level at a little bit higher than that for a couple of reasons. And again, the game plan is to really get in with my commander, sacrifice giant creatures, and for fun and profit.
This is just something that I'm thinking through myself. And what game changers would you even want to put in here besides like the good tutors?
Tutors, yeah, that's really all that comes to mind. Yeah, you'd put Vampiric Tutor and Worldly Tutor in here, and maybe even Demonic Tutor to just get the best creatures to put
Yeah,
on the back of the Gitrog, or to get the right, really to get the right interaction pieces at the
sure.
right time. I would argue is probably a better reason to have the tutors in there,
Mhm.
but it just doesn't. And it's not that it doesn't have any tutors; they're just really kind of incidental, and I don't have any
Right.
of the like cheap 1 mana ones.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and go into the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. And one of the strengths that this deck has is you really only need to get the Gitrog trigger to happen once. And with him having haste, it can happen immediately. So like the because when you sacrifice a creature that has a power of 7, you're drawing 7 cards, putting probably 3 or 4 lands into play, and now you have a full hand of gas and all the mana in the world to play it. So your mana curve is pretty high in this list, but it doesn't
Yes.
matter because we'll get into it later, but you have a lot of ramp in here. And when you have ramp and card draw on your commander, you can get away with the numbers that we have later on. But man, he is very powerful, and you just need that one. And he only has to do
Yep.
1 damage in order for the trigger to sacrifice. So the trample and the haste work really well together, and he's scary, folks. Kill him on sight. And one of the weaknesses for the deck, I really had trouble nailing it down. So, I guess a board wipe every turn will stop you from winning because you don't really have any like aristocrat wins or anything like that. But again, the Get Rock monster has haste. So all it takes is you having enough mana with all the ramp that you have to play a creature that gets big and the Get Rock monster in the same turn. And it's GG's. And if no one has instant speed removal, it doesn't matter. Like at that point, it doesn't matter. So it was really hard to nail the weaknesses down. I'm curious on what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I think you're making several very interesting and excellent points here. That because the haste is a big deal. There's just no question here. Like the fact that this is a green creature that has haste, or a black and green creature that has haste, really makes it not seem like it should. It kind of breaks the color pie to some extent. It doesn't seem like the card should have haste, but it does, and it really allows it to get that advantage early on. As far as the strengths that I identified, like Golgari is a resilient color
Mhm.
combination on its face. Like it is just generally considered to be resilient, and it does a lot of graveyard shenanigans. So this deck has those things built into it kind of incidentally,
Right.
frankly. Like it does support those synergies, but really it's just because those you're going to get those things in Golgari colors. And really, the other thing that really shines in this deck is that so many of the creatures scale as the game goes long.
Right.
So my creatures get bigger and bigger, and they are a very significant threat, even outside of just drawing me cards. Like having 10 10s and 15 15s on the board that you can threaten to knock your opponents out with really does give you a lot of power in the game.
Sure does.
So I was trying to think about what makes the deck feel bad. The first one I didn't write it down, but I'm going to bring it up now since you made me think about it. Is that it does happen that you whiff and you draw an enormous amount of cards and you don't get any lands. So you don't get the ramp piece of it. So then you get really amazing card quality, but you're not getting enough lands out to keep up with it. And then
That
you're
makes
dumping a
sense.
bunch of stuff in your graveyard, which is not a total loss, but still not what the deck is trying to do. If you don't have lands to put into play, because
Right.
you had pointed out when you were reviewing the list that you thought the land count was a little low, and in review, I agree. I think that based on what this deck is trying to do, it probably wants some more face up lands,
Right.
because if I'm reading it right, I'm fairly confident that you can't put the MDFCs in with the second half of
I
the Get Rog's
don't think
ability,
so because on the
because they're
front
not
they're an
lands on
instant
the
or
front side.
sorcery. Right.
They're not a land in your hand.
Right.
They just have this secondary thing where you can play them as a land, but they become a land as you play them, I think. So really, MDFCs are less versatile for that reason. So I think the actual land count should be a little higher. Graveyard hate is good against this deck. because there are a lot of graveyard synergies in it. So it is gonna slow me down to deal with my graveyard or to have anything that's like if your creatures die, they exile instead. That's gonna make it harder for me to have that longevity. And also anything that limits the commander's ability to get damage through is gonna be
Mhm.
good against it. So anything that lowers the power of creatures, like that Mind Cage spell you're always
Ooh,
playing.
I love that one.
Uh, that's right. Like or even propaganda or
Fog
ghostly
meta.
prison, like
Let's go.
things that make it harder to attack are going to be really effective against this. And the last piece is without the commander, we found out in reviewing this deck that it's actually low on card draw that doesn't involve the commander. So if you deal with my commander, this deck will run out of gas.
Right. But the cool thing is you have a lot of ramp to make up for it. So
Yeah.
if the
I
Gitrog
guess
monster
commander
costs
again.
15, just cast it again. it's pretty simple when you put it that way. But no, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. And I never really thought how much graveyard synergy this deck has, because it's not like you're running cards like Reanimate. It's more like
Right.
the cards that you're putting in there have effects in the graveyard that let you bring them back out again. And I didn't really think like that was like a thing it was just like a part of the field that I wasn't like necessarily looking for when looking at your deck list. And that makes a lot of sense that graveyard hate can affect you a lot. So we're going to go ahead and start talking about the basics. These are our traditional categories that you need in every commander deck, and it will help improve consistency. So these are the fundamentals. So we're talking, we'll have Tim explain what the categories are, and give us the numbers. So what do you got, Tim?
So for the basics, I counted 7 card draw, 20 ramp, 10 single targeted interaction, and 6 mass interaction. And again, what we noticed there is that the actual card draw category is a little lower than we would normally want it to be. And yes, the commander has significant card draw built into it. But if you're relying over much on that and you don't have backup for it, it does mean if people deal with your commander in a different way, that you can't, if they hit it with an enchantment that makes it,
Imprison in the Moon or something like that.
exactly. If they do something like that that makes it hard for me to get it out from under lockdown, I'm gonna have my card draw stifled. So that number really stood out. And obviously 20 ramp spells might actually be a little much, considering that the commander also has ramp built into it. So next, we'll go down through each of the basic categories. We'll just, we each kind of pick out some cards that we think are worth talking about for this list for the people listening and watching for you to consider to add to a list if you were going to build this commander, or cards that we've just seen be very, very good in this deck.
Alrighty. So the card draw card that I picked, and I love this card. I'm so glad you have it in your list. We're talking about Disciple of Fraelis. It is 3 and 3 green, and it's an elf druid that's a 3/3. It's also an MDFC. Keep that in mind. And it says when Disciple of Fraelis enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. If you do, you gain X life and draw X cards, where X is the creature's power. So this is really great because a lot of your cards or creatures have big power. So it's a good power payoff, and it's a lot of card draw, and that life gain is not completely insignificant because you're going to do things that are going to hurt you. People are going to want to attack you, and just getting that 12 life buffer because of Gulta or something seems like a pretty awesome thing to do. And the fact that it can be a land early on is really, really nice as well.
I've thought about this recently, and because it's a 2-color deck, you only get the 1 bounce land. You just get Golgari Rot Farm. But there are some other options for things that kind of do a similar thing. There's actually there's a colorless land. It's a desert that does the same thing. And I'm actually really heavily considering adding it to the list for exactly this reason. So I can play the MDFCs early on, just as a rule, knowing that I'm probably going to get them back later when I cheat all those lands into play the Gitrog trigger. I'm going to get some of those bounce lands and maybe get back some MDFCs I played earlier. Yeah, Disciple of Freyalise is really strong in a lot of different decks because it's an MDFC, but here's where it really shines. And I don't think it's spoiling the surprise, but this deck plays with a lot of creatures with power and toughness equal to the number of lands I control.
Right.
So this is another card that scales as the game goes along. So yes, I can get 12 for Galta. It's possible that the number gets higher than that in a lot of games.
I only said Galta because Galta is currently on my screen at the same time.
And it's a good choice because it's a card that, especially the one with the cost reduction, Galta comes down super cheap. So it is, on rate, one of the easiest giants to get on board, because if you have Gitrog in play, that card becomes, immediately reduces its cost down to 6, and, one or two other creatures. It's not hard to make it cost 2 green in this deck. So it's very easy to get down.
Yeah.
Okay, card draw. I was gonna pick. The traditional Garruk's Uprising, but then I realized there's a Garruk's Uprising with upside in my creature list, and that is Vaultborn Tyrant. So this is a 7-mana dinosaur. It's a 6/6 trample. When it or another creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 3 life and draw a card. So you are getting, if you're cheating a bunch of creatures in at the same time, it replaces itself, but also works as a pseudo Garruk's Uprising. It also has if it dies and it's not a token, create a token that's a copy of it. So if you saddle this, you get a replacement version of it.
And you draw more cards. Oh.
And you draw more cards. Yeah. It's an expensive card dollar-wise. It's also a 7-mana card, but it's at like 25 at the floor for this card. So this was one of those cards that I splurged on for the deck because it synergizes so well.
Yeah. It's gross. Like for 4 more mana, you're getting a 6/6 with trample. And if it gets destroyed, it comes back. Right. And you gain life. Why does it have to have the gain life too? Are you running a life gain deck? Because that's what it's starting to look like.
I am not, as a matter of fact.
This card's ridiculous. So we're going to go ahead and go into the ramp category, and we're going to talk about my ramp piece. And this one's just like an all-around solid one when you're talking big powered creatures, and we're talking about Fanatic of Ravenous. It is a 2-mana snake druid. It's 1 and a green, and you can tap it to add a green. That's kind of boring, but
so boring.
If you have Ferocious, you can tap it to add 4 green, activate only if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Is that going to ever happen to him? I don't think so. This deck has only like mana dorks in it, right?
It seems so absurd that this card got to print. It really does.
I'm not done. It has Eternalize. It has Eternalize.
It does.
Is that the one where it comes back as a 4/4 zombie, or is it just to come back as itself?
It's the one where it comes back as a 4/4.
That's so freaking stupid. Oh my god, how did this card get to print?
What's remarkable is that it's 4 mana, not 2. If it produced 2, if you had Ferocious, it would still be playable.
Oh yeah,
but it's not 2. It's 4.
It's 4.
So is it going to happen? Of course it is. It is. This deck to get to 4 power you will do it accidentally most of the time.
You sneeze, you have 4 power.
I really think that this card, and really it must have picked up steam. There was definitely a time where this was not an expensive card dollar-wise. It is now like nearing $10, which means the community has finally seen its worth, because there are an enormous amount of commander decks that should probably be playing this in your 2-drop mana dork spot. If your commander has power 4 or greater, you should be running this card.
I like to believe it was this episode that increased the price yet. They didn't know we were recording it until now, but it was our fault.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Or I'm sorry for making it cost more. I don't know.
Already 10.
Okay, my ramp piece is our first example of a star creature, and it's Beanstalk Giant, but it's a ramp piece because it has an adventure. The adventure is Fertile Footsteps, 2 and a green. Search your library for a basic land, put it onto the battlefield. then shuffle your library. So not tapped, by the way. So Fertile Footsteps, very mid ramp spell as far as those go, but Beanstalk Giant, after it goes on an adventure, is a 7-mana star with power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. So this is an incidental ramp spell that is also a creature, power and toughness equal to lands, which the deck absolutely thrives on. 18-cent card, excellent in this list.
I think what makes it so good is you probably would run a Kodama's Reach in this list anyway, but why not attach a star for 7 mana onto that creature at the same time? Like, you don't necessarily I don't think you necessarily need that second land into your hand when you have the potential Beanstalk Giant to cast. Maybe even later that turn. Like most of the time you're going to cast both sides of that card anyway. So for, I guess, what would it be, 10 mana, you're getting a star and a free land. Like, that seems awesome.
Yeah, it's an excellent point that you make, is that if you were going to have Kodama's Reach, which I don't in the list because there's so many other ramp pieces, but this arguably is better because you get the first land untapped, and instead of getting the second land, you are getting a giant later. And you don't have to do it the same turn. It sits in exile forever. Right. Like, it just sits in exile on an adventure till you feel like getting it back later. So it's really like you didn't lose a card at all.
Right. Now, I would say this. I don't think this is better than Kodama's Reach in all decks. I think it's better specifically in this deck because you want the star for the number of lands, because you're going to have so many in play to begin with. So this isn't a Kodama's Reach replacement for all decks. I wanted to put that public service announcement out there because the way we were talking made it seem like it was better. And sometimes it is. In this case, it is.
Yeah, you heard him, folks. Replace Kodama's Reach with this every single time.
Yep. We're going to stop the recording now. Alrighty. So now we're going to talk about single targeted interaction. And I really like this card. I knew, of course I knew it existed, but like, man, I didn't realize how good this card was until I read it. And thankfully I haven't seen it used against me, which I appreciate. And we're talking about Legolas's Quick Reflexes. For 1 green, it's an instant with split second. And it says untap target creature until end of turn. It gains hexproof, reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power up to 1 target creature. Man, this is removal in the right cases. Now, you can't saddle at instant speed, so it's not like you can protect something and then on their turn and then saddle it to tap it. I mean, you have other ways to tap creatures at instant speed anyway, but man, the hexproof, the reach is nice. Just in case if something is trying to get by and you need to get that reach. Like, there's like everything it says on it is just gravy on top of the hexproof. That's such a good card.
It's really meant to be the ultimate version of hexproof, right? Like, thematically, it being a Legolas card is really meant to be like, this creature is so fast and so hard to hit that we tried to close every loophole of how you could actually remove a creature. Now, in fairness, it doesn't close it. There's still ways around this, but for 1 green mana, it is an enormous amount of upside. It's another, like, dollar-wise, it's one of the most expensive cards in the deck, and there's a reason for that, because you get so much out of so little, and it is perfect for this list for that reason.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that it doesn't do is give it indestructible, so you're not protecting yourself from a board wipe in this particular case, but it's protecting you from all the other single targeted interaction that other people have. And the fact that it can't be responded to is really nice. Means it's uncounterable. So good night, blue players.
Yep. My single targeted interaction choice is a very versatile card. It's Archdruid's Charm. This is 3 green for an instant. You choose one of these modes. One is search your library for a creature or land and reveal it. Put it onto the battlefield tapped if it's a land. Otherwise, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So it tutors a creature or it tutors a land right onto the field. Second mode is put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So it's a +1/+1 counter and a bite. Last mode is exile target artifact or enchantment. So oftentimes in a multicolor list, I wouldn't consider this card, but this list gets so many lands
Yeah.
into play. The 3 green does not seem difficult, especially with that mana dork that makes 4 green inexplicably. So, I mean, we're not always going to have it, obviously, but Archdruid's Charm, the versatility of this card cannot be matched. It really is a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I like this card a lot, and as you said, when you have such powerful land ramp, that 3 green doesn't matter. Now, when building this deck, did you notice that there's a lot more red or red? If there's more green or black mana pips or anything like that,
There's a lot more green.
I was about to say it's 78% green, so you're going to have that 3 green pretty easily.
Yep.
Pretty much no matter what, because only 31% of the mana pips are black. So
yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy. I'm going to be able to cast this. You might not need to cast. You might not be able to cast it on turn 3, but you're also not trying to really cast that card on turn 3 anyway.
That's exactly what I was thinking, and it's a fantastic point. Like, this isn't standard where you have to be able to play this card on curve every time, or it's not, or it's pointless. Like, this is a removal spell for late in the game. And again, it is functionally a Swiss Army knife of removal because it's going to kill a creature under the right circumstances. It's going to get you the answer that you need out of a creature or a land, or it's going to permanently remove, because this can destroy the One Ring. Let's just get it out there in the open.
That's pretty dope.
This is an incredibly powerful removal spell.
Alrighty, we're going to go into mass interaction, and mine's not necessarily full mass interaction. It's not wiping the whole board, but it's a new card and I want to talk about it anyway. We're talking about Armagon, Future Shark. It is 6 and 2 black for a legendary creature, Shark Horror Mutant with Flash. It is a 9/6, and when Armagon enters, destroy up to 3 target creatures. This thing's just exciting because it's a brand new card. I like the fact that it destroys 3 creatures incidentally, and the fact that it has Flash is pretty sweet too. So like you can be like, oh, on your end phase, I'm going to clear my way for my Gitrog to get through. The Shark's going to ride the Gitrog and then get sacrificed to draw 9 cards and do wonderful things. Just that sentence alone makes me love Magic the Gathering.
Yeah,
Shark riding a frog into battle.
Yep. Shark in a frog deck. The shark and frogs, as we all know, in nature, just the most obvious pairing.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about this too, because it's one of the more recent includes. There's a couple other cards from the newest set, but really very few. And this one, I just wanted to try it out on the list because it does have a very large power, which synergizes with the deck. But really, removing 3 creatures is pretty significant. It's not a full board wipe, but like the three most significant threats on the board, that's going to change the state of the game most of the time.
Well, and also it could just clear the way for your Gitrog to get another trigger, which is good enough in itself. Like you might not have to remove 3 of the best things. You could remove 3 of one person's thing and get through. And with Psychosis, well, we're going to talk about him later, but with other cards that you have, you can just win off the spot with that trigger. So I really like this include, and it's a giant shark. I can't really get upset about it.
My mass interaction choice is something. It's a card we've talked about before, and it's not a surprising choice. The mass interaction is the place where this deck has the most kind of like eat your vegetables kind of thing, where I just have them in there because I know I'm going to be able to deal with them. But I'm going to talk a little bit about the Beat Hook Massacre. So if you're unfamiliar, it's an X and 2 black. It's a legendary enchantment. When it enters, each creature gets -X until end of turn. When a creature you control dies, each opponent loses a life. When a creature an opponent dies, dies, you gain a life. So the reason I think this is particularly good in this list is you will remember that we said that the creatures in my deck scale as the game goes long. So removal that is based in -X is going to turn into one-sided board wipes at certain points of the game.
Yep.
So if our opponents don't have a board that has a toughness of 5 or greater, I get to keep Gitrog and all of my big monsters for a -4/-4 with this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Magic Christmas Land, obviously, but really I love the scalability of Meathook Massacre because, again, there is a certain point in the game in which wiping the board might actually win me the game with this, because my creatures dying are going to make everybody lose life. So I do really like the scalability of this in this list, and the fact that it doesn't hurt me like Toxic Deluge, which is also in the list, but that this one actually gains me life most of the time.
Yeah, you're 100% right, and I was hoping you would bring it up, and I'm glad you did. The fact that it's controllable, and even if you do have to kill your own Gitrog to get through, right, or to kill their worst creatures, most of the time, well, even like no matter how much you pay into this, as long as you're not using mana dorks to do it, your creatures that say star for the number of lands you control always live. So it could be a board wipe where you keep 4 stars and hit everyone for 2 or something, and then next turn they're 20/20s.
That's right.
So it's kind of it's a good way of keeping your stuff around and getting rid of everyone else's. Like I would like to also see like maybe like a Black Sun Zenith or something along those lines. Just because X removal spells will be really good in this list because of how much ramp you have. The fact that you have 20 ramp pieces allows you to run the higher cost and the X cost and doesn't do anything super negative against you. You're not going to be sad to see an X cost card in your hand when on turn 6 when you have 12 lands in play. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and segue into what we call the non-basics. Now that we covered the basics, what we're going to do is we're going to go into more of the specific goals or categories for this deck. We're going to, after we talk about the categories, we're going to go over a couple cards in each of those categories that kind of highlight what we meant by the category itself. So, Tim, what are the non-basics that we have today?
Okay, non-basic category 1 is Protect the Frog. So protection pieces, anything that's going to make it so that our commander stays on the board. Non-basic number 2 is Mount the Frog. You can take whatever meaning from that you want. Non-basic number 3 is Frogs are big cheaters.
I was not ready for that joke. I'm
wants
sorry.
to cheat out. Frogs are big cheaters. So we want to cheat out. Everybody knows frogs are cheaters. We want to cheat out fun stuff in the deck. There's a number of cards that do that. And then non-basic number 4 is frogs have big friends like sharks. So what are our payoffs for playing the giant creatures that we are playing?
Alrighty. The first card that I picked, I have to find on here because I don't remember what the card is. Oh man, sometimes I wish I just opened up tabs like we used to.
It's an instant.
It's an instant. There we go. Oh, it's Smuggler Surprise. Wait, no, that's the wrong category. Revitalize. Oh, it's this card. Revitalizing Repast. This is another great MDFC. Okay. We got there, folks. I'm sorry. It's been a very long day. It's a 1 mana. It costs either a green or a black, and you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, and it gains indestructible on the turn. And then on the other side, it's a land that taps for either a green or a black. This is probably one of the best MDFCs that exists because it's such a good protection piece. And I mean, you're not going to utilize that +1/+1 counter super much, but like it protects the frog, so it's good enough. And that 1 counter could mean the difference of getting that point of damage on somebody or not. So yeah, what a great card. There's not really too much to go into it because it's just a protection piece and it's a really good one.
And because it's an MDFC, and we talk about this a lot, the opportunity cost of including it is practically zero. Like, it is a green and black tap land that if I don't need it to be a land, it sits in my hand as a 1 mana protection piece that's going to make my Gitrog indestructible. So if somebody tries to Wrath of God or even does the uncounterable one, does Supreme Verdict, I don't need to counter it. I'll just give Gitrog indestructible. The counter's inconsequential, but really, again, the opportunity cost is so low, makes this card easy to get into the list without sacrificing anything at all.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
So my protection piece is Tyvar's Stand. This is X and a green. It's an instant. Target creature you control gets +X/+X and gains hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. So X can be 0 here. So for 1 green, target creature gets hexproof and indestructible. For every mana you have available to pump into it, you're going to increase its power and toughness as well. So this is a sneaky way to kill somebody with commander damage.
It sure is.
Like, if our opponents are not paying attention to it and they're like, oh, I guess I take the Gitrog trigger this turn. I've already got hit by him once. You're only going to get me to 12. And I go, okay, I'll pump it 9 more.
Whoopsies.
Now you're dead. Yeah. So because the deck ramps so much, and if I get to that kind of like really, really powerful amount of mana, this turns from just a protection piece into a finisher.
That's a good thing to kind of point out. Like, a protection piece that can do multiple things is kind of nice. Like, I'd rather have a protection piece that could potentially win you the game versus just a protection piece that's going to just protect your commander. I like that a lot, actually. Yeah, it's a really good card. I like it a lot. And this deck will thrive with X spells in the list. Like, I would love, like, if I were to tweak it a little bit, I would add more X cost cards. One that I would love to see is like Genesis Wave or something like that. But yeah, X cards are going to be great in this list when you have 20 RAM pieces. There's no there's no doubt in my mind, even if it's their first time taking damage from it, I could still see you paying enough mana to kill somebody with it.
Yep.
What a good card. So now we're going to talk about Mounting the Frog, and this is just going to be a party because there's going to be 2 things hopping on this one, and we're talking about Bebop and Rocksteady. It is a 3 mana, one and a hybrid green black. Whenever Bebop and Rocksteady attacks or blocks, sacrifice a permanent unless you discard a card. The thing I didn't mention yet, it's a 7/5. A 3 mana 7/5 is really, really good in this list. So it's very easy the turn before you play Gitrog, you play Bebop and Rocksteady, and then you immediately draw 7 cards and put 5 lands into play, and then you win the game. It might not be that fast, but you're going to be so far ahead, it's going to be unreal.
Yeah, this is, again, it's a new card, so I was glad that we got to talk about it, and it is a recent inclusion, and it really just took the spot for a card that was very similar, but the downside to this was slightly less downside than the downside to the previous card.
Because I think it was a cumulative upkeep or something, where you had to sacrifice something?
No, there's a 7X, I don't know the toughness, but there's a dinosaur. There's a black dinosaur that you have to discard a card on your upkeep every turn. And so this also has the sacrifice a permanent or discard a card downside, but only if it attacks or blocks. Like, you don't just automatically have to do it. So really it fit into that spot perfectly well, where it has a 7 power, but the downside to it is almost non-existent under almost all circumstances. So it just seemed like a really obvious include here, and it serves that exact purpose of coming down before the commander and being a fantastic mount for the commander early on in the game.
So I also feel like it's a start of a punchline to a joke, or a start of a joke. What happens when a toad, a rhino, and a pig walk into a bar? I don't know. Figure out. Leave a comment below with what the answer to that joke was, and I'll laugh myself to death.
So my favorite thing, as I said, to put on the back of the Gitrog is any creature with a star that equal to the number of lands. And we got a really powerful one very recently in a set that almost everybody hated, and it was from Spider-Man. The card I'm talking about is Sandman Shifting Scoundrel. So this is 3 mana, 1 and 2 green for a star, power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. It also can't be blocked by powers creature power 2 or less. And you can pay 5 mana to return it and target land from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped at any time. So this is maybe the most efficient rate for this particular ability. I haven't been able to find another card that has the star for cheaper. I think this is it. This is the cheapest one.
Yeah.
And so it's important to note that early in the game, this isn't quite as impressive. But as soon as you get to like 5 lands or more, this card is fantastic. You know, if it's 5 or 6, if it is 6 or better, you've got a 3 mana 6/6 that you can put on the back of the frog, do all the stuff that we're trying to do, but then you're going to get it back later. And by that point, you will have put more lands in play, so it is going to be even bigger.
I mean, even this line here, on turn 2, you Nature's Lore. Turn 3, you play Sandman. Turn 4, you play Gitrog and saddle it, and it's still a 5/5. Well, it would be a 5/5 if you're playing.
Because you Natured Lore. I got you. Yeah, it's still 5 lands. It is a 5/5 at that point. Yep.
Yeah, and that's still good enough. And then after you bring it back, you draw your 5, you put 3 more lands in. Next turn, you pay 5, get one of the lands that you discarded or something or whatever. Now it's a 9/9 and you're drawing more. The fact that it's so repeatable and at the cost of only 5 mana, that's not terrible. Considering you're paying the same for that with some of your other creatures that don't bring a land back.
That's right.
So Multani is a 6 mana that does the same thing. It just happens to have reach and trample.
Right.
So I'll pay the 5 and get the land back instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is another recent inclusion, and I haven't got to see it really do its thing yet, but I'm convinced that, again, in the 3 mana spot, you have a critical mass of very cheap creatures with big power and toughness. This feels like a really good fit in that part of the deck for sure.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Alrighty. So now frogs are big cheaters. So we're going to cheat in some fun things. And the card that
everybody knows that.
Yeah. Anyway, the card that we're talking about is Smuggler's Surprise. It's a 1 mana instant with Spree, which means you can choose 1 or more for an additional cost. For 2 colorless, you can mill 4 cards. You may put up to 2 creatures and or lands from among them from the mill cards into your hand. For 5, so for 4 and a green, you may put up to 2 creature cards from your hand onto the battlefield. And for 1 additional more, creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain hexproof, indestructible till end of turn. So this is a protect your frog piece too. I was originally going to put it there, and then I'm like, you know what? I like it here better because it's doing everything that this card wants to do to begin with. So for 2 mana, you're protecting any creature with power 4 or greater, which is going to be 80% of your board. For 6 mana, you're putting it's the 1/2 of Tooth and Nail. And then for an additional do you ever see yourself maybe doing it for all 3 pieces, or are you only ever going to do it for 2 or more of them?
I see doing all of them almost all the time.
Yeah, you do have a lot of mana, don't you?
Really, so it's 6 for the effect that you really want. 4 and 2 green, put up to 2 creature cards from your hand. So for 3 more than that, total of 9, you are also milling 4 cards and putting 2 creatures or lands from among them. And you want lands too. If you just get lands, that's fine. Because you're going to want them for Gitrog later. But you're also giving everything hexproof and indestructible. So obviously, circumstantially, that last one might not be so important. But really, you're going to be able to do all of the modes if you want to most of the time. So
I also like the fact that it's an instant too, man.
It's an instant.
You can just do it at the end step if you really wanted to.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
That's
what makes it really
exactly
good.
right. And there are certain creatures in the deck that if you're cheating them in at the right time, you're going to end up cheating a bunch of other things in as well.
Yeah.
So, really, Smuggler Surprise is just that. It is a fantastic surprise, and it's exactly the kind of thing that makes this deck fun to play.
It's also just a really good card. And I don't think this card's too expensive. I actually don't know. My price disappeared. I don't know why. Alrighty, Tim. What's your big cheaty face card?
Yeah, Smuggler Surprise is a little less than $4
Oh, that's not so
right
bad.
now. Okay, so my cheater pumpkin eater is Kona Rescue Beastie. So this is a 4 mana 4/3 Beast Survivor from Duskmourn, the best set of that year. It has survival, which translates to if at the beginning of the second main phase is if this is tapped, trigger this ability. That's what survival means. So it at the beginning of your second main phase, if Kona Rescue Beastie is tapped, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. So for free, any permanent. If it's a land, that's fine. You're not really getting a lot of value there. But with all the very expensive cards in this deck, if you're cheating anything that costs about 4 or more, you're getting an enormous amount of it. You're at least getting Kona's initial cost. So it's important to note that you can saddle more than one creature to the Gitrog, and you don't have to sacrifice any creatures. So it's possible that there's a line where you play the Gitrog, maybe you've already got Kona out. It's almost always best to not play Kona until you're going to be able to use it and cheat something with it, because people see it and they know it, and they're probably going to try to remove it if they can. So there's lines where you play Kona, saddle it, and you don't sacrifice it because what you're going to cheat in is too good to pass up. These things are definitely possible. It also incentivizes you to play like permanent based things. So wouldn't it be fun to cheat in a shark that destroys 3 creatures
I think it
for
would be pretty
absolutely free?
solid. It would be
Right.
pretty solid.
So I also have the planet lands, the green and black planets from Edge of Eternity in here, so they can tap a creature at sorcery speed. And in standard right now, that's how you break Konas. You use the lands to tap it, and it makes it very easy to cheat some things into play. So it's only one thing at a time, but it's a super fun card, and it synergizes very easily with this deck, with what this deck is already doing.
Yeah, I would like to see some other big scary enchantments or artifacts or something to go with it. You have a couple of other big ones, but their cost gets reduced and stuff like that. Because I'm more of a not creature player, but I mean, because you said in standard they cheat in omniscience, right?
That's right.
Yeah. I would like to see something cool like that, like Portal to Phyrexia or something like that, that you could cheat in here. But again, we're talking Magic Christmas Land, and quite frankly, it's not my deck, so you can do what you want. But I really like Kona, and I'm going to have to find a good deck to put him in and break them. Alrighty, so now we're going into the Frogs Have Big Friends. So this is big creature payoffs. And technically, the card I pick isn't always going to be a big creature. I picked Gerard Gagari Lich Lord. It's 2 black and 2 green for a legendary creature zombie elf, and he gets bigger for each creature card in your graveyard. And you can pay a generic black and a green to sacrifice another creature. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power, and then you can sacrifice a swamp and a forest to return Gerard to your hand from your graveyard. This card is going to win you the game.
Yep.
Basically, like, you need to kill this before he has the chance to activate, which you don't have the time to. So you need to kill it on the stack with a counterspell. We're relying on you blue players to do it, okay? That's me. Okay? Man.
Yeah, you're relying on you in this scenario.
And that scares me, okay?
It's true. Like this is, I think, an auto include for this list. I'd be very surprised if there was for anybody playing that doesn't have this card in it, because it is a backup. It's not just a backup win condition. It is the pressure release valve.
Yep.
Like really, like that you can reach for this and to win without attacking. Like the deck is going to actually just turn creatures sideways and win with big, very scary monsters most of the time. It's capable of it, and it's going to efficiently do it almost all the time. having a thing that gets around those you can't attack for whatever reason problems is crucial for the deck. And again, opportunity cost, even if you mill this, even if you end up discarding this, as long as they don't nuke your graveyard, you can get it back for sacrificing a swamp and a forest, and then you probably have the mana to cast it and activate it multiple times. And you're absolutely right. By the time this hits the board, the game is probably over.
Yeah, because you're not playing this on turn 4. You're never going to play this on turn 4. You're going to sandbag this until you play it and you kill at least one player with it.
Right. You're going to really, the line is you have 10 mana available. You cast this, you activate it twice, and the game is over. Because you've got 2 creatures with a collective power of 40 or greater, which is not far-fetched in this deck.
Well, and the thing is, it says each opponent. It's not even like it's target player. Like, that's what makes it so powerful in the Commander format. And this card has probably won more games than a lot of others. So such a very good payoff card for if you're running a big creature deck, especially when you have some graveyard synergies too. It just doing this with the Sandman, 8 mana. You hurt someone for a lot, or you hurt everyone for a lot, and then it comes back.
With a land.
like why?
My choice in this category, there's a lot of cards that get big in this deck, and obviously the Gitrog is the best payoff for those big creatures, but a sneaky one that not enough people have read this card and fully understand what it does, and this is why I think it ends up being as good as it is that if you're not really paying attention to all the lines of text here, you might end up getting jumped by this card. So I'm talking about the Skullspore Nexus. This is an 8 mana legendary artifact, 6 and 2 green. This spell cost X less to cast, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. When 1 or more non-token creatures you control die, create a green fungus dinosaur token with base power and toughness equal to the total power of those creatures. So if this is on board and the board gets wiped by something that doesn't shrink things power and toughness, if it gets wiped by something like Wrath of God, it's going to see the power and toughness of all of the creatures and create a single dinosaur that is absolutely...
That's a 32 and big enough to wipe out one of the players by itself.
It's possible. That might happen in games that might be linked in the comments. And then Skullspore Nexus isn't over. You can also tap 2 generic and tap it and double target creature's power till end of turn.
God, that card's so good.
That's going to turn a lot of these like really, really big creatures into actually lethal threats. Let's remember that you're going to cast this card for 2 green most of the time.
Well, because with your commander out, it's only 2 green.
It's 2 green. That's right. So when you change it to a spell that costs 2 green and then read all of that text, you go, this is ridiculous.
It's very much different.
And so, like in Gitrog, if this comes out early in the game, the creatures that you're sacrificing to Gitrog are getting replaced with dinosaur funguses. I think it's fascinating, don't you, that there's been an enormous amount of like media recently and fictional stories that heavily involve mushrooms.
That is kind of weird.
Right. I think mushrooms are coming to take us all out. That's what this card is telling me.
I 100% agree with you, and I am never going to order mushrooms on my pizza ever again. To be fair, I didn't do it very often, but it's never happened again. But they're such fun guys.
I'm glad we got that joke in there.
So on other notes, we're going to go ahead and segue into our honorable mentions. These are cards that we were just excited to talk about. They could fit in a lot of other categories, and we just didn't have enough time to talk about them. So now we're going to talk about them now and waste more of our time. So,
do it.
Tim, I love this card you picked, and
I know we both do. This one's near and dear to both of our hearts. It just speaks to that inner Timmy in both of us, I think, in that like this card is tough to actually get it to work, but when it does, it's so satisfying. The card is Journey to Eternity. This is from the original Ixalan. It's 1, a black and a green. It's a legendary enchantment that's an aura. You enchant a creature you control. When enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield transformed into Atzal, Cave of Eternity. So at the backside of this is a land that taps for any color and then taps 3, a black, a green, and the land to return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So Journey to Eternity gets a creature that you're sacrificing back when you sacrifice it, and it creates this land that is now a reanimator piece. So it ramps you a little bit, but also gives you a land that can, at instant speed, reanimate a creature, and it comes in untapped on both sides. When it brings the creature back on the front side, it comes in untapped. When it reanimates on the back side, it comes in untapped. Just fabulous in this list because we're already sacrificing our creatures.
So I actually have a reason why I love this card so much, and this only happened to me once, and I keep praying for the day that it happens to me again. Turn 2, I played a Secure Tri Builder, and then everyone's like, "Oh, at the end of my turn, are you going to sack it?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." So on turn 3, I played Journey to Eternity, put it on Steve, sacked the Steve, got Steve back, sacked the Steve again.
Oh, dude.
The only reason why I love this card, and I can't wait until it happens again.
I need to put Steve in this deck.
Oh man.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Steve might be better than Farseek.
Yeah, I would say, because you run a lot of basics.
It's better than Rampant Growth for sure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You're
welcome.
I love
Tim.
that.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's the reason why I love that card so much. It happened to me once, and I'll never forget it. So anyway,
definitely adding that.
So that was not my card to consider, Tim. I want to make that perfectly clear. So we're gonna go to my honorable mention, and every time I see this on your board, it just makes me giddy on the inside because I know I'm doomed.
So good.
So we're talking about Nissa of Shadowed Bows. Anyway,
like this is bows. Like when the bow breaks, the cradle will fall. It's that kind of. That kind of bow.
It's not this kind of bow. No. Anyway, it's 2, a black and a green for a legendary Planeswalker Nissa, and it has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a loyalty counter on Nissa Nissa of Shadow Bows. And then for +1, you can untap target land you control. You may have it become a 3/3 elemental creature with haste and menace until end of turn. It's still a land. And then for -5, you may put a charge count. You may put a creature card with converted mana cost less than or equal to the number of lands you control onto the battlefield from your hand or your graveyard with 2 +1/+1 counters on it. You know what? I did not know it did it from your hand too, because I've only ever seen you do it from the graveyard. And boy, this card's gross. It is just
gets better every time you read it, right?
I know. Now look, you're probably never going to use the +1, but if you're short a mana on a turn, it can ramp you that 1 mana for that turn because it does untap that land. So just something to consider.
Let's remember that the deck is playing Evendo and Nykthos and Cabal Coffers.
Oh yeah.
So am I going to use it to untap a land?
Probably. Maybe. But also the graveyard recursion's kind of nice too.
That's what it's there for, easily. And I think the upside of this card, or maybe it's upside's the wrong way to say it, but the reason it synergizes so well with this is that Planeswalkers are typically very fragile, right? And this is why they're not popular in Commanders, because you have 3 people that you have to defend against. People will usually gang up on a Planeswalker and to defeat it. But this gets so many loyalty counters because this deck is going to get an enormous amount of lands into play. So if you cast this pre-combat, Gitrog gets you an extra 5 land drops. This gets up to like 10 loyalty on the first turn.
That's pretty sweet.
It really is. And the board that you're creating with this deck is also really hard to get through. So Planeswalkers are solid in a deck like this because it's going to be very hard for your opponents to actually get through and defeat it with combat damage. So this is just going to get you incremental value. And really, with the extra land drops that you're getting, you're probably reanimating something every single turn.
Correct. And you only have 2 Planeswalkers, but the Planeswalkers you picked are both absolutely stellar in this list because the other one just makes really dumb big creatures for a +1
every turn. That's
and
right.
it can also just destroy an artifact or enchantment, which is great removal. It's recurable, and it starts off with 7 because let's be perfectly honest. Oh, okay. We're talking about Nissa Ascended Animist. And you're going to be paying that 7 mana because you're going to have it.
That's right.
So it's going to enter with 7. So it's super chonky, and it's also making an 8/8 if you paid the 7. That's going to saddle, then draw you 8 cards, and then get you more lands, which will make your otherness a bigger, and then you're going to reanimate whatever you want.
Yep.
So, and that's not Magic Christmas Land. That's just going to happen.
No, we see the Ascended Animist. Maybe even in the game that we have,
spoiler
linked to
warning
in the description. It is a very good card. So yeah, Planeswalkers, it can be kind of sketchy, kind of suspect, but like in this list, these two in particular are very strong. All right, let's move on to our last little segment, which is our cards to consider. Here we talk about some cards that aren't currently in the list that we just kind of are asking ourselves maybe they deserve a spot. So I'm curious to hear from you. What would you add to this list?
The card that I picked is kind of a gimme. It's Greater Good. It's a 4 mana enchantment. It's 2 and 2 green, and you sacrifice a creature. Oh no! But you get to draw cards equal to its power. Oh yay! But then you get to discard 3 cards, if I'm not mistaken.
3, I believe.
Yeah, and who cares? When you're drawing 12 cards, who cares? The card's really, really good. I don't know how it didn't make the cut.
I'm with you. Like this may have been because I built this deck obviously very shortly after Thunder Junction came out, which is more than a year ago now, maybe even 2. I lost track of time.
That's what happens when you're old.
I think it's 2. I think it's 2 years now, or coming up on it anyway.
Yeah.
And so I had it built a while ago, and I just recently upgraded, and I probably just didn't have a Greater Good when I built it. It wasn't on my radar, and there were just so many other things that I wanted to get into it. But yeah, as soon as you put it on the list, I'm like, this is such a great idea, and especially when we now know that the number of actual card draw spells I have is fairly low. And again, let's go back to our friend Sandman.
Yeah, seems pretty solid.
Like any kind of card that you can sacrifice to this and then recur later, like Sandman or Multani, those are all going to be fantastic options here. So I'm very impressed by you say it's a gimme, but you've already added two cards to my deck today, as far as I'm concerned.
You're welcome. Alrighty, Tim. What's the card that you picked?
So I've been looking at this card for a while, and again, the only reason that I haven't already added it is that I don't have a copy of it, and I just never got around to getting it. I was really hoping I would crack one when I was opening Dragons of Tarkir, or whatever the newest one was, Dragonstorm. When I was opening that set, I was really hoping I would get this, but I didn't, and so I just haven't picked it up yet. The card's Rot Curse Rakshasa. So this is a 2-mana 5/5 demon. That's the start, right? So there is currently in the list... and actually, this is really high up on the EDH rec for this deck. Let me find them. There's a card called Lupine Prototype. It's a 2-mana Wolf Construct 5/5, right? Lupine Prototype can attack or block unless a player has no cards in hand. So what I'm going to suggest here is that Lupine Prototype is never going to attack or block. No. Never, ever, 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 ever. Because they almost never get Jazz Hands in a Commander game. I mean, it does happen really late in the game, but that's not when you're using this card. So Lupine Prototype is essentially a 2-mana 5/5 that only cares about jumping on the frog. And that's all it does, right? So Rot Curse Rakshasa is also a 2-mana 5/5, but it is all upside. Because it can attack or block, it just has Decayed, which means if it can't block, but when it attacks, you sacrifice it at the end of combat. Are you reading the card? And then, so this is a 5/5 trample for 2, so it replaces Lupine, but it's the second part of it that's so busted. So this card has Renew, X, and 2 black. You can exile this card from your graveyard and put a Decayed counter on each of X target creatures, activate only as a sorcery. So I can put Decayed counters on all of my opponent's creatures, which means they can't block.
And then they also get sacrificed at the end of combat.
And they also get sacrificed if they ever attack at the end of combat. Yeah,
Oh!
this is such an easy and obvious upgrade in that 2 mana
Wow.
spot. And I am so surprised. I looked at the EDH rec list in preparation for the episode, and this is way at the bottom.
Really?
And Lupine Prototype is in more than half of the decks. And in my mind, this is strictly better than
this.
That
Is 100% upgrade. Yeah.
Absolutely 100% upgrade. So I'm really surprised that this isn't more popular, but as soon as I get my hands on it, trust and believe it's replacing that werewolf. Slam dunk.
I wonder why that is. I think Lupine, the werewolf thing, I want to say that card is just more known than this card.
Agreed.
Because it's just not like, it's not a price thing. This card's only $2. Like, what's the difference when we're talking numbers as big as we are with our commander decks? Like, what's $2 versus a 14-cent rare or something?
Right. Marginal at best. Lupine Prototype's like a quarter, like 22 cents according to the list I'm looking at, right? And so yeah, Rot Curse is only sitting at 2. So yeah, marginal absolute at best. So
I like it second half where it's like, oh, you're just gonna make your stuff unblockable and I'm gonna get another trigger and you're all doomed.
So I think that it might just be like, it might be a situation where it's the Ouroboros, meaning that the internet just eats its own tail, right? So more people have this in their list. So more people have this in their list. So more people have Lupine Prototype in their list because it's in everybody's list. It was one of the first cards I put in the list and part of it is that Lupine Prototype, when it came out, everybody thought to themselves, something's going to break this. Something's going to break this card.
Right.
And really, to this day, it's still a 25-cent rare, so nothing's actually broken the card. This list is just able to use it, but here we've got Power Creep showing up again and saying, you know what? You thought.
Shut up. Hold my beer.
Yeah, we've got a better option now. And I think the Rock Curse Rakshasa, like I said, it was actually, I remember it was a very hyped card when it came out.
Oh, really?
So it was more money than I wanted to spend. But it turned out to not get a lot of standard play, so it's regulated back down to a reasonable price. So I could probably pick one up now on the cheap. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's $2. Like, anyway,
that's it. We're done.
That's it. Man.
All right, friends, opponents, if you are feeling any unexpected side effects from talking this much about frogs, I recommend that you consult with a medical professional as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And of course, thank you for spending time with us on the Head Games Commander podcast. Remember, you can support the channel by liking this video, leaving a comment. You can check out our other videos on the YouTube page. That's Head Games MTG, if you didn't already catch that. You'll find links in the description for the full deck list and for gameplay featuring today's commander. You can find all that in the description.
But before we scoop things up, we want to hear from you, the think tank. What cards would you play in this list? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for playing along with us. And have a wonderful day. Ribbit.
Get wrecked.
Bye.